You want to start off by telling that story Mom wants you to tell?
Well, she wanted me to tell it, so
Okay.
I'll just tell it.
All right.
When I was going to school, first started school, and I was going to have a spelling test, and my brother-in-law, Everett, you know him, Everett Sloan, and I was sitting right in front of him, and my sister, Jen, Virginia is her name, but we all called her Jen. And Everett, he's sitting right behind me, and the teacher told me to start spelling words, you know, see if I can get them right. She said, Juanita, said you, and I'll have to think about it.
Go ahead. Take your time.
Said Juanita, said, you spell yours first. Said, I'll just let you go ahead and start first. And said, when I tell you a word, you pronounce it. So she told me a lot of them, and I got them right, you know. And she said, I never could spell nothing much anyway, so she said, now spell ship and pronounce it. And I said, S-H-I-T, ship. And well, everybody in the school, in the class there just hollered and laughed at me, you know, and I didn't know what this laughing about till some of them told me what I spelled. And I said, all right, Everett Sloan. I said, I'll kill you. Then they'd had another big laugh, and that's all. It was over then. But he tells that to everybody. Said I sure could spell in school.
What grade was that?
I believe it was about the third or fourth. See, back then we didn't have no graduation much then, you know, or anything, so I just went to the 5th grade. I could tell it.
What school?
But I did learn to spell little, you know, and
What school was this?
it was up at Wheelwright, Kentucky.
What can you tell me about growing up there that you remember?
Well, see, my dad, he worked in the coal mines, and we lived before we could see them carrying them out of the mines, you know, and taking them down to the doctor's office when any of them would get hurt real bad, you know. And so we'd go out on the back porch when we'd know they was bringing someone out, you know, out of the mines, and we thought it might be our daddy, me and Jen. And I can't hardly remember all of it. So we'd run down there, you know, seen it wasn't him, we'd just go on back home. But they carried them out, you know, a lot of times. And my dad told us that when he went in there to dig out that coal, said he'd just have to crawl around back in there. And that worried us too. And my grandmother, she raised me and my sister, you know, and she said, see, my mother died when I was this little, 11 months old. And our grandmother raised me and my sister. And let's see.
Where did you live when she raised you?
Well,
Where did your grandmother raise you? Where'd you live?
Well, we lived up there at Wheelwright
Until when?
for a long time, and then we lived several places where he'd be working in the mines, you know.
Yeah.
I know one time big high house we lived in, you know, I mean on a hillside. And I was afraid to go out on the porch, afraid I'd fall down that hill. And it was scary like. That's about all I remember there.
Well, Papa's talked about being in the Navy and serving. What was it like when he was gone? Where'd you stay then? And he's here now, so he's going to
Where'd I stay then?
Yeah.
I stayed most of the time at his father and mother's, Miss Hinds and Miss Hinds.
How was it like living there for a while?
Yeah, I like, all right. That's when, mind you, Papa's first baby was born, right after he went in the Navy. And I lived with them, and our baby didn't live. It was born dead.
Do you remember any events around that time?
What?
Any things going on at that time, like nationally? Do you remember the announcement of Pearl Harbor? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Tell me what was like when you first heard of that.
I can't remember.
Can't remember?
That's been many.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get Mary to tell a little bit about it too. Was there anything?
I know it was pitiful about when they bombed it, you know.
Is there any other stories you can think of you could tell me?
And what?
Any other stories of Jen? Can you tell me some stories about Jen?
I don't know whether I can tell any more of them about it or not. Yeah, Everett had a sister that married a preacher, and they was having church, and her husband, you know, was a preacher, and if I can think of how it went. I can't hardly
Just
think.
take your time. Well, while you're thinking about that, I got another question for you. How did you two meet?
How did I meet him?
Yeah.
I was visiting down at one of my aunts. I lived in Kentucky, and my daddy, he let us come, me and Jen, you know, to come down and stay a week or two with her, you know, and Curtis lived right down from my aunt's, and he'd get off from work. He worked in the sawmill some. I reckon that's where he worked. Anyway, he'd come down by my aunt's, and I'd run out there so I could get to see him. And we just got together and married. Lived happy ever since. Been married 63 years.
63 years. You put up with him for a long time, haven't you? So what was the first
We've
thing?
had good times and bad times, you know, just things that happen. I can't remember all.
Well, tell me about all your children. Start naming from the oldest to the youngest.
I don't know so awful much about them. They wouldn't tell me nothing.
Like Wayne and
Sissy.
Yeah. tell us their full name. Go through your children.
Well, Wayne, he used to get around on the floor, and he went to sleep one time, and I was scared to death. I like never found him. When I found him, he was on the floor asleep. The floor.
How old was he then?
How old I was?
No,
Or
how old was
Wayne?
he?
Oh, he was just, I guess he was about 7 or 8 years old. He wasn't too old.
Well, tell me, can you remember when they were born, their birthdays?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, tell me from Wayne on down. What their ages were, when they were born.
There's so much I can't know.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't.
just when their birthdays.
Oh, their
Yeah,
birthday.
when they were born, what order. Go through all your children.
Keep that. I don't know whether I can get it right or
Well,
not.
that's okay. Well, just tell me
Uh,
every child's name.
Well, Wayne,
He's the oldest.
Robert Wayne Hinds. I named him after you, Papa. His name was Robert Curtis. So I named him after you, Papa. And Sissy, they was a girl lived there that I knew real good. I mean, we was good friends, and her name was Gwendolyn Sue. And I named your mother Gwendolyn Sue after her. But everybody called her Sissy. Nobody hardly didn't know her name. And that's about all. Well, Brian, I could tell you a lot about that boy. Oh, he when he was about 3 years old or 4, he he always had run off, and we couldn't find him. I know people got tired of me yelling for him all the time. And one time though, he was gone, and we had the whole neighborhood hunting him. And there's one feller lived up by us, and he was helping us hunt. He come down the field, and he saw Brian's head there, peeping up out of that gully he was hiding in. He wouldn't want to answer us. Oh, your papa, he is around. He checking all the wells and everything, see if he'd fell. There's 3 wells around there, see if he'd got around them. He's forevermore into everything. He'd get out and catch snakes and everything. And when we first built our house, the floor was so shiny in the living room, and he come in one day and he said, "Oh, Mama," said, "my head's itching." And I said, he had on an old cap, and I jerked that old cap off his head. I said, and there's a big old frog hopped off his head and went all over that shiny floor, and I threatened to whip him, but I got tickled and couldn't whip him. And there's a lot more that I can't think of. You know how he'd like to be out prowling around the woods. I wouldn't let him go hunting by himself. He'd always have to go with his daddy. They'd go hunting. And Sharon, she always was quiet, She never did give me no trouble, no way. But Wayne and your mother, they used to get in trouble pretty much. They'd get to sniggering, laughing around, Nearly every time we go to the table, they'd have to leave the table. We got three.
They're troublemakers, weren't they?
Yeah, there's troublemakers. Yeah, and your papa would set out some shade trees, you know, and when your mother was learning to drive, he wasn't there then. He had gone some town or somewhere, and Sissy, she got in the car and started to back out, you know, and she backed on one of them trees he'd set out, and it just leaned over. She run out there and she said, "Oh, Wayne." He was standing there and he said, "I'll tell Daddy as soon as he gets back." She said, "Wayne," said, "Please don't." And he never did know what happened to that tree, but it never did grow like the others.
That slow-growing tree.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
yeah. And that's about all I can. Was that
Yeah,
about all?
that's about it. If you can think of anything else, well, one other thing maybe, and I'm going to kind of make this for Lily when she gets older. She can watch this and know something about the family. You know, when she
Yeah.
gets to be about
Yeah.
15, 20 years old. It's really for her.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to tell her when she gets older? Or Noah, for that matter. You know, this is really for them and their children when they get older.
Well, I'm going to tell them to, you know, be good and not get into nothing bad or nothing. And like I did my own children, you know, I've told all them to, when they was out and there's, you know, never get no drugs or nothing. And I'd keep on telling them that all the time, worry about it. And that's about it, I guess.
Well, I think we got it.
Huh?
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us.
You can't swing now.
Oh,
Still. That's why we. Okay.
That's the problem with the.
Yeah, you'll be moving around on us.
All right, man, we're rolling.
Okay, we're rolling. Go ahead anytime you're ready.
1941, 24th day of May, me and Juanita had decided to get married. I thumbed a ride and caught a ride into Sweetwater from the country and met her. She was staying with her aunt out there, and we went and got married. Went home and went to stay with my dad, and we went and stayed with them a night or two, and I decided we'd go try to get something together. I had $25 money, and so I went to Sweetwater, and